Hello, this is Quentin Carton from ServiceNow, and in today's presentation, I will go over our Stream Connect for Apache Kafka product and explain the value proposition, what challenges we're trying to solve, and different capabilities that come with that new product that we have. So Stream Connect for Apache Kafka, it's an addition to our automation engine offering. For those who are not familiar with our automation engine offering, it's all about helping our customers automating or integrating the platform with other external systems. I'm going to go from the left to the right and explain a little bit the automation engine suite of product and explain how where our Stream Connect product for Apache Kafka fits in that portfolio. RPA Hub is our robotic process automation solution that is here to help automate any mundane and repetitive task when it comes to automating tasks such as performing data entry in legacy system or performing lookup of information and data from external system. Any automation tasks that you want to perform on systems that don't have access to protocols like REST or web services. So you can always automate screen using our robotic process automation solution. We do also have integration hub that a lot of our customers are already using. And this is to be able to connect any workflows that you may have on your instance, connect your processes and workflows to external systems using more modern protocol, REST API, web services, or running script via a mid server, for example. We provide out-of-the-box integration to the most common system that our customers are using. But the beauty of Integration Hub is also we accelerate the time it takes for you to, if you ever need to build your own integration in ServiceNow, you can use Integration Hub. In Automation Engine, we also have document intelligence that helps you from a workflow perspective to extract data from digital document and use this metadata from your workflows and processes that you are orchestrating using the ServiceNow platform. So it's really automating the manual task of opening attachment, extracting data from invoices or any type of really scanned document. You could use DocIntel to extract that data and use that data from a workflow perspective. And we have process mining here on the right-hand side. This is to mine processes that you run on ServiceNow, but you can also import external log and audit data to ServiceNow to mine those processes and identify areas of improvement in those processes, such as identifying bottlenecks, or if there is a lot of back and forth between different teams, you can identify that with process mining and improve that process. Now back to the topic for today, it's Stream Connect for Apache Kafka. So for all of the processes and workflows I'm talking about, our customers always need to leverage some sort of metadata that they use to support their business. So Stream Connect is helping getting data in and data out of the platform in a way that's not going to impact the performance of your instance. So I'm going to go in a little bit more detail. It's leveraging the native Kafka protocol. Really, truly, it's another way for you to get data in and data out of the platform at scale. So in near real time. That's really what Stream Connect for Apache Kafka is. So there is so many use cases for, if you think about how you're using the platform today, you may already doing some export or import of data. It may take some time, it may be some scheduled job. There's many techniques to do that. Stream Connect offered this to support a huge amount of data and being able to exchange this with your instance in a very short period of time without impacting the performance of your instance. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail in a minute. as I was saying, it's just another option for our customers to integrate the platform. Really, we're talking here about exchanging metadata from the platform to other system, or from those other systems to send data to ServiceNow. So you can use that data to drive outcome using our workflows, basically. So this is existing capabilities that we have that customer can use to exchange data or integrate workflows to external systems. Stream Connect for Apache Kafka, it's a new addition, so it's another option for you. The reason why we created that Stream Connect for Apache Kafka, the main reason is because a lot of our customers are already using the Kafka native protocol. And I'm gonna double click into what is the specific of Kafka so you can understand for those who are new to this. But Kafka is already deployed at a lot of our customers. So they were asking for us to support that protocol so they could use the native connectors, Kafka connectors, to send data to ServiceNow. Obviously, we have other techniques. We have JDBC, you can run script, you can manually load XML file, Excel spreadsheet to the platform. Here with Stream Connect for Apache Kafka, we're really talking about those use cases for which we're going to be exchanging a huge amount of data in a very small amount of time. So really want to scale and without impacting the performance of your instance. Let me double click into Kafka. Kafka is not a ServiceNow product. Stream Connect or Stream Connect for Apache Kafka is leveraging Kafka. Kafka, it's an open source solution from Apache. It's a distributed streaming platform for real-time data processing. So when a customer implements Kafka, whether or not it's in their data center or in the cloud, they deploy a bunch of infrastructure components, such as clusters and storage and load balancer. And that's what we mean. It's the platform. Then they have access to a Kafka platform that they can leverage to send data in and out and have other application in the data center consuming that data from that platform, basically. So we used to have, and still customers are still using TIBCO system or IBM MQ series as an enterprise messaging bus. I'll say this is the 2.0 version of those enterprise messaging bus. It's way more scalable and it's open source, so there's a ton of connectors out there. And that's why our customers want to use this, because the Kafka native protocol are well known and well used here in the market. So there's a lot of third-party solution, database solution, data lake solution, cloud providers that are already using those Kafka protocols. So this is the reason why we added this to our portfolio. So now you can leverage the Kafka native protocol. To go a little bit more detail on Apache Kafka, and again, here I'm double-clicking right now into Apache Kafka, and I'm gonna be talking about the Stream Connect for Apache Kafka component that we have. But to really understand it, I want to make sure we are on the same page on the concept of Apache Kafka. So ServiceNow, we have deployed the streaming platform, the data streaming platform Apache Kafka in our data center. But here I'm just talking on that slide of the general concept of Kafka, and then I explain the benefits of Stream Connect specifically. So the concept of Apache Kafka, it's a data streaming platform where you can have all the different systems. And when I say system, it could be anything, an IoT device, a train, a windmill, a telecom tower, some banking system, some database, monitoring system, healthcare equipments, doesn't really matter. All those systems today, it doesn't matter in which industry you're working on. You have many systems producing data, and this data at some point needs to be exchanged across different systems. Apache Kafka simplify this and allow you to do this at scale. So you can think about a banking system that, when you are on your online banking and clicking on your online banking, this is generating data. This data at some point needs to be shared in the backend of the bank. It goes to database servers, or God knows in which system the data is going. But in the concept of Kafka, what's the way the data is shared across different systems, we call it a Kafka message. A Kafka message is produced, and then it's being consumed by, for example, in my example, a database. The banking system, online banking could be the producer, so using some kind of Kafka connectors will produce a message containing, for example, a banking transaction. The database subscribe to a particular Kafka topic, so basically is listening for new message that will arrive for that particular banking topic. So you can have multiple systems consuming the message. Basically, you produce once, and the message can be consumed by different systems. And here, that's what I'm trying to illustrate here. It could be consumed by a database, but also a custom app. Maybe there is a custom application used by the bank that also send a status back to the enterprise messaging bus to Kafka, and other system can then consume maybe the response from that custom app. And there's no, I'm going to talk specifically about ServiceNow use cases, but here you can see the custom app create a message, produce a Kafka message, and maybe this message is leveraged for analytics and reporting purpose. There is connectors to grab data in real time to feed a data lake or analytic tool. So you can do a reporting and analytic in a near real-time way. And this is possible because the way Apache Kafka, the Apache Kafka platform is architectured, and the way it works, it can handle a lot of messages coming in and out in real time. So here, I'm not going to go through all the little example that I have on the screen. Just remember, there's a concept of a system produced a bunch of data. The data goes to the message bus, to Apache Kafka, and then they can be consumed from consumers. Consumers can be devices, computers, software. There is a lot of Kafka libraries and connectors out there, so your different system can consume those messages. So the benefits of Kafka, I already kind of talked about it. The scalability, the way it architectured, the platform, the Apache Kafka, when it's deployed properly, it can scale and handle a large volume of metadata. To give you an idea, we're talking about handling, maybe 1 million of messages in 10 minutes. Just as an example, we're talking scale of million or 100,000 messages. And when we're talking about messages, I'll show you an example in my next slide. It's exchanging small bits of data, key value pair, a banking transaction number, an account number, a name and first name, a date. We're talking about small amount of data, but a lot of those being created and shared across many different systems. So the Apache Kafka can scale, it's reliable. The way it's architectured, there is automatic failover, no matter which component, if you're talking about the cluster itself, the storage underneath, it's all taken care of. And we're talking about near real-time processing, which opened up a lot of opportunities, even from a ServiceNow perspective, because you could, maybe currently you importing and exporting data out of the platform on a daily basis. Maybe you have nightly jobs, scheduled job at extracting data, sending the data over, or maybe you're doing this via API, but it takes a long time to process the data. So you are very far from a real-time exchange of data. With Kafka, you can really do that in near real time. The last point is decoupling the system. So what I really like with Kafka is you can use 50 different software systems in your organization, thousands of different softwares. But if you decide to use Kafka as your way to exchange metadata, then you have a common platform to get data in and out from those different systems and to those different systems. You don't have to maintain a mesh of point-to-point integration. Can I give you an example? ServiceNow to Workday, ServiceNow to Salesforce, ServiceNow to Azure, ServiceNow to SAP. You start maintaining a mesh, and then you do Salesforce to SAP. So you maintain a mesh of point-to-point integration. Would it be better to have one system that's producing the data, put the data somewhere, and your large ecosystem of infrastructure, softwares, platform can consume that data right away, and all using the same native protocols? in terms of architecture, it's way easier. I'm not saying we eliminate or we want to replace point-to-point integration. Of course, there are still benefits of doing this, specifically from a workflow perspective. When we offer to customers purposeful integration to those different platforms, where you can easily consume in a no-code way, drag and drop way in your workflow, consume those integration building blocks. There's still a need for that, but when we're talking about large volume of data that needs to be exchanged in a very short period of time. This is where Kafka will be a good fit compared to just a point-to-point integration. So both will be used at some point. If the customer, they're going to be still using Spokes and Integration Hub, of course, but for those use cases where there's a large volume of data that needs to be exchanged, maybe Stream Connect for Apache Kafka could be the right solution. Just to illustrate a little bit more what's a Kafka message, because a lot of you listening to this, you may have no clue what it is Kafka. And when I'm talking about producing metadata or Kafka message, you may not know what it is. Look at the bottom right corner. This is an example of what a Kafka message could look like. Very simple. You have a key value pair, the name, and then you have the value, the status, you have the value timestamp. And this is kind of a free-form format. The system producing the data will be configured to send a specific set of metadata that other system needs to receive or consume, I should say, if I use the Kafka terminology. So in the context of ServiceNow, it could be your admin configuring a bunch of workflows in ServiceNow to extract change data, incident data, or case information. So they will decide what field and what data from those records in ServiceNow they want to use when they produce Kafka messages and send it over the Kafka cluster. So really, just to visualize, you don't have to read the detail, but just to make this more visual, I put that screenshot out there. And there is limit in Kafka size of message. It also depends of the way the cluster is configured, but as part of our Stream Connect for Apache Kafka offering, we have a limit of 2 megabytes per message, the size of the message, which is still pretty big because we're talking about text message, key value pair. So let's now double click into Stream Connect for Apache Kafka and what the benefits for our customer and why we created this. We created this offering to help customers integrate the platform to other systems, to provide an alternative, another way to exchange data from their workflows to external system. We wanted to provide a way that's going to be scaling, so customer can scale, meaning exchanging a large amount of data without impacting the performance of their instance. The main problem we've seen with large customers, a lot of them were creating a bunch of scripts or using connectors to extract data from ServiceNow and send it over to the system, or they were using third-party tool from partners to extract data and feed some data lake or reporting system. But the way, without Kafka and without Stream Connect, the way you extract data from the platform, it's leveraging the API, the RESTful protocol. That protocol has this limitation. So there's a limit on the number of message or record you can extract from the API. And you can work around this, but there's a lot of overhead and development required to really make this, if you want to make, it's almost impossible to make a real-time data exchange integration using API when we're talking about millions of records that needs to be exchanged. It's impossible. So customer will suffer, spend too much time developing script, doing error handling, managing the queuing of the data being exchanged. Plus, they will impact the performance of their instance using sending data over the API. So that's mainly why we decided to create Stream Connect for Apache Kafka, is to provide an alternative to protect your instance so you can exchange data without really having this overhead and be worried about impacting the performance. So here's different use case. It's integrating oftentimes you have some data in one system and you need to replicate over, or you need to send a status over to a different system. The value of Stream Connect, I already mentioned it, it's basically scaling your integration. We're talking high volume and high velocity. Whether or not it's getting data in or getting data out of your instance. So integrate, replicate, and scale, that's the main use case we cover with Apache Kafka. I'll go talk about other use cases, specific customer use cases in a minute. Here, I want to go over the architecture for those who are a little bit more technical, ServiceNow savvy, and listening to this. And that's kind of the representation of our Stream Connect for Apache Kafka architecture. So the left side here, it's your ServiceNow instances. Your instance, for the most part, is hosted in a paired data center at ServiceNow, different two locations for failover purpose. Here, what you see on that middle square in the ServiceNow cloud, we say Hermes Kafka cluster. Literally what it is, it's ServiceNow who have deployed Kafka infrastructure in our own data center at ServiceNow. Right? It's part of the offering. When you subscribe to Stream Connect for Apache Kafka, then you have access to the Kafka cluster and you can send data in and out of that cluster. This cluster is a multi-tenant, it's important, it's a multi-tenant cluster. So it's shared across multiple customers, but there's data segregation and security layers on top of it, plus APIs, specific ServiceNow API on top of it to make sure we have a connectivity between your instance to that Hermes cluster. What it is, that third box here, we call it the ServiceNow gateway. Basically, it's a Kafka endpoint. When you activate Stream Connect for Apache Kafka on your instance, we expose new protocols to the load balancer that's sitting on top of your instance. I'm talking about load balancer at ServiceNow. This is all things, you don't have to do anything. It's our data center team. Basically, when you activate that Stream Connect offering, we enable those Kafka endpoints so you can leverage the native Kafka protocol from your environment, from your data center. Try to give some example. It's your cloud data center. It doesn't matter if you're on-prem data center or if it's your Azure or AWS. We're trying to represent customers getting data in and out of their instance using the Kafka cluster. A customer who has Stream Connect can export a lot of data to the Hermes Kafka cluster, and that data from the right-hand side from your environment can be consumed in real time using native Apache Kafka connectors, using one of the connectors provided by your data lake technology. There's a lot of connectors out there available to grab data from Kafka and feed a database, for example. I'm pretty sure if we Google it, we'll find some Snowflake connectors to Kafka, meaning you can grab data from a Kafka cluster. So with Stream Connect, we offer that Kafka cluster, so you can read data and feed your Snowflake data lake in real time. So why I'm talking about this is because currently, if you don't have Stream Connect for Apache Kafka, the way you're going to get data in and out, it's using a bunch of API, table API, and it's not going to be as fast as with the Kafka protocol. And it's likely, if we're talking high volume, high frequency, likely going to impact the performance of your instance. So with Stream Connect for Apache Kafka, we kind of protect your instance. We have decoupled the messaging bus, the way you send data in and out, from your instance. We have queuing mechanisms. It's native with Kafka. We take care of the queuing. We take care of scaling the infrastructure. So your instance is kind of protected from that. It doesn't matter how much data you're going to throw to the Kafka cluster or send from your system, send to ServiceNow, your instance will be protected. That's the main goal. And also the outcome of that is now you can consume business metadata that you will send from your environment, and then you can workflow it. You can have some workflow consuming that data in real time and perform action. It could be incident data, event data coming from your external system. It goes to ServiceNow, and then in real time, you can trigger workflows from those Kafka messages, and then try to resolve problem and bring value to your organization by automating part of the whole the whole process. All right. So what we need to remember is the Kafka, it's Stream Connect for Apache Kafka enable you to use the Kafka native protocol to consume or produce data. That's basically from your instance. That's basically the offering, and it's an alternative to using the table API, the RESTful API, or the web services of ServiceNow. Double-clicking to that box, I'm showing Kafka Confluent. What does that mean? I'm going back to it. Some of our customers already have a Kafka platform cluster, multiple Kafka clusters deployed in their data centers. So that's the best case scenario, actually, because we provide a way to replicate everything you may have, or part of what you have coming, messages coming to your Kafka cluster, you can replicate it over to the ServiceNow Kafka cluster, and vice versa. For anything you're going to be producing from a flow or business rule and send over the Kafka cluster of ServiceNow, you can easily replicate to your Kafka cluster. Benefits of that is if you already have a Kafka team with who is in charge of putting some governance around the data, and they are deploying connectors to feed your different system, your analytics tool, database, and so on and so on. They already take care of this. All you have to do from a ServiceNow COE perspective is ask them to replicate the data from the Kafka of ServiceNow to your Kafka, and they should be able to manage the connectors that they're likely they are already using this to feed the Power BI and Snowflake, a bunch of database and other systems. You don't have to have a local Kafka to get benefits from our Kafka. You could have a need to have some kind of custom application in your data center that needs to consume data from ServiceNow in real time. Kafka, Apache Kafka, being an open source project, they provide libraries for Java, .NET, C#, where you can use to create function in your application to grab data in real time from ServiceNow. And of course, because it's open source, a lot of vendors and partners, third-party software companies are providing connectors to their software to facilitate the exchange of Kafka messages. So that was a long talk on the architecture slide. I hope that makes sense. So as part of the offering with Stream Connect, you get access to our Hermes cluster, which is our Kafka deployment. And now, how do you use that? It's my next 3 slides. When you get access to Stream Connect for Apache Kafka, we enable some functionality on your instance. Now you can, on the screenshot, I'm showing a flow in Flow Designer where you're going to build no-code workflows. You can configure your workflow trigger based on a specific Kafka message and a specific Kafka topic here. Basically, the workflow will be listening to messages coming to the Kafka cluster, specific messages coming to a topic called router update. And there's an advanced option to change the logic and how I want to consume those messages. But literally what it means is if I have external system feeding ServiceNow via Kafka, they can send data to that topic, and right away in real time, I can read that message in ServiceNow. So really, we simplify the way you can consume business metadata from a workflows. The only thing you have to do is send those data over to Stream Connect for Apache Kafka using the Kafka native protocol. And then we make it easy to consume those messages without even coding anything. It's a flow trigger. And the producer is to send data over to Kafka. Consumer was to consume data that may be coming from external system to ServiceNow Kafka cluster. Now you are working on your instance. You have a bunch of workflows or business rules, and you want to send data to the Kafka cluster so it can be consumed by your external system. So we provide a producer step. What it is literally a no-code action step in Flow Designer Integration Hub that you can use to decide how to build that payload, that Kafka message, and when to send it over to the cluster. You can do a loop. Simple example, I want to send incident data or case update to external systems. So every time a case is updated in ServiceNow, I need to send a bunch of metadata to the Kafka cluster so it can be consumed. I can update other external system. So here you could do a loop over your case table or incident table or custom table. And then for each record, or depending of the logic you implement, produce a Kafka message. And here that step helps you constrict, build that payload, decide what key value pair you want to send over. And we also provide a way for your for the developers who wants to do this from business rules or create a bunch of script to do the exact same thing that I explained on the Flow Designer. We also provide an API so you can do it from a script. So that's another option. The last features and capabilities that come with Stream Connect for Apache Kafka, we provide a robust transform engine consumer. Some may be already familiar with this. When I'm talking about transform engine, transform app, most of our customers already use this to import LDAP users to ServiceNow or to import XML, Excel data to ServiceNow. They use transform map to map fields coming from a CSV file or Excel spreadsheet to target tables in ServiceNow. The beauty of the RTE consumer in ServiceNow for Kafka, for Stream Connect for Apache Kafka, your data source, instead of being a flat file or a query to an external table, now it's real time consuming the data being streamed to Kafka. So in real time, you can read message and feed your table. You can apply transforms, meaning you can on the fly modify, convert some value from lowercase to uppercase, or do advanced transformation of the data before you insert in table. So this use case is inserting data to ServiceNow in real time. And this can handle like huge amount of data coming in real time from Kafka. So you read directly from the Kafka cluster and you feed your table and you transform the data before you feed the table. So that's the 3 ways you can consume data from a ServiceNow perspective using the Kafka cluster. Let's talk about some customer example. And this is just a few. There is a lot of use cases we yet haven't thought about. And that's why we talk about this, because here's going to be some kind of IT-oriented use cases. But as you can see, we're opening the door with Stream Connect for Apache Kafka to many more use cases, because now we can do things in real time with large volume of data. So we need to think outside the box. But let's review 2 of the use cases I wanted to talk about. A bank, famous bank, who needed to extract data from ServiceNow to feed a data lake in real time. They were doing this data extraction and ingesting the data via REST API. And I already explained the REST API is good when you do point-to-point integration to update status, update record. But when you are dealing with extracting the data in real time, they were facing performance issues. They could not have the real-time aspect that they were looking for. Plus, they had to do a lot of maintenance on the script developed to extract the data via REST API, implement a lot of retry. So that's what you see 2 or 3 times due to limited throughput. So that was a big issue, started to impact their business. So they decided to remove that overhead and use the native Kafka protocol to extract data from the instance, so it doesn't impact the performance of the instance. That's one. But also now it's near real time. Plus, they don't have to maintain a bunch of script, which is a huge overhead. So a lot of value there and solving that big problem. The next use case is a telecommunication provider that needed to synchronize their order data across multiple systems, so multiple platforms being used by that telco provider, ServiceNow being one of them. So we're talking about specific business data, order data, and again, it's the same issues from the previous example I was giving. It was too complex to maintain those API calls, those table APIs to feed those tables, too complex to implement retry and queuing mechanisms with some custom script. So they really wanted to use a more modern way to exchange data with those platforms. And as part of their design pattern and vision for their architecture within that specific telco, Kafka was basically the protocol in the roadmap for them to connect platform together and exchange data across those different platforms. So it's not even let's not even talk about Stream Connect. It's just the enterprise architecture team, the data integration expert, that said Kafka should be the way we exchange data across the organization. So we were lucky. Now we have Stream Connect for Apache Kafka, so they can leverage those native Kafka protocol to exchange data with ServiceNow, but not only with ServiceNow, but other platforms as well. And this opened up also opportunities for them to update their CMDB in real time from their customers' system. They can update their CMDB in real time. So that's an extra value add. When we deal with telecommunication companies, they're dealing with a lot of equipment. Those equipment, obviously, they need to maintain status somewhere. And telcos are oftentimes leveraging the ServiceNow CMDB. And one of the challenges for them is to have millions of network equipments sending updates to the ServiceNow CMDB using a REST API. And again, it's very challenging for them to handle that throughput, this amount of data via API due to performance issues and latency. So Kafka basically help with that. There's no more issues with latency or performance when you use Kafka. So there's a lot more use cases. I think in my 37 minutes I was talking, there is, I already mentioned a lot of those. So I'm not gonna go on each of them. I've talked populating the CMDB. Think about those use cases where you need to export data from your instance. There's many reasons why our customers need to export data. Sometimes it's for reporting or archiving. Even though you can do reporting on ServiceNow, then they need to have a data lake. For some, sometimes it's for regulatory reason. They need to have the data in an external system for archiving. Sometimes synchronize different systems together, just because they have many different platforms and a lot of data being exchanged, and they want to protect their ServiceNow instance, so they want to use those modern protocols to exchange data. And as I was explaining before, sometimes it's also the play here is I'm a customer, my architect, my enterprise architect, I have a vision of streamlining integration, and the design pattern for exchanging data across systems, it's to use Kafka. So now customers have the ability to use Kafka to send data to ServiceNow using Stream Connect for Apache Kafka. There is limitation with Stream Connect, things you need to keep in mind. The size of the message being produced or consumed, it's 2 megabytes in our cluster. So the way the cluster is configured, again, it's a multi-tenant cluster, is the maximum size of the message is 2 megabytes. So it doesn't matter the number of messages you send, it's just you don't have to go above 2 megabytes. You get access to a certain number of Kafka topics, and if you're not very familiar with Kafka, the topic is a way to organize those messages in the Kafka cluster. You can think about it. I'm going to have a topic dedicated to exchange incident data or change data, right? So that's specific topic you categorize. You can even give access to those topics to different consumers and secure those topics independently. And I'm not going to go through the partition. Your Kafka expert will understand the partition. The retention policy, 36 hours. So when you think about the Kafka cluster, it's an enterprise kind of messaging bus. The message being sent to the Kafka cluster stay in the cluster for 36 hours. After that time, you cannot read. I mean, you cannot read it. So that's a retention policy. It's common configuration of Kafka, and you should share this with your Kafka team if you have a Kafka team already. Here's some metrics. Okay, I usually don't like showing performance metrics because it really depends how you consume messages or how your instance, its size and everything, but the size of the message, etc. But that's some data we can share with you, and you can share with your Kafka team the number of messages that can be produced in our Kafka cluster. So it's 2,000 messages per second, and the speed, how much data can be written in your table. Right, so you can see 300 messages per second is what we've seen per thread. Again, this will depend on how many nodes you're using for your instance, how it's been sized for customer per customer. So we can talk in more detail. If you have a specific use case where those numbers are too low, we can have our architect discuss together. So as we're close to the end of that presentation, the way if you ever wanted to test that new offering, here's kind of how it would work. You can request the Stream Connect for Apache Kafka. You can talk to your account representative on your sub-production instance. You could try this, simply going on the support website and request the plugin. There's a few configurations to perform. Obviously, it's always good to involve your security team and enterprise architect if you're going to be sending data in and out, so you can review the security aspect, and we can help support those discussions. So I recommend you involve early on your security team, your data integration team, or enterprise architect. Even if you're going to be doing things in sub-prod, because your sub-production you may clone your production to sub-prod. So I recommend you talk to your architect, make sure everybody is aware that there's this new protocol available, and you're going to be maybe exporting data or importing data from your sub-prod instance. And we can help you if you wanted to evaluate and test Stream Connect. We can help you. We can identify some use cases and potential outcome and benefits, and support you along the way. So that was probably a long presentation, but I hope it gives you a good idea of what we're trying to achieve and where we can help with Stream Connect for Apache Kafka, which is part of our Automation Engine Enterprise. It's an add-on on top of our Automation Engine Enterprise offering. Thank you for listening to this.